First contact gone, Wrong Commander Sarah Chen had always believed that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its weapons, but in its ability to adapt. Standing in the reinforced observation deck of the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, she watched the impossible unfold above her. Massive ships, each one larger than Manhattan, hung motionless in Earth's atmosphere like dark omens against the morning sky. The Catherian Empire had arrived 3 days ago. Sarah had been nothing more than a retired aerospace engineer, content to spend her days consulting on satellite designs and teaching quantum mechanics to graduate students. That was before the first transmission cut through every communication system on Earth simultaneously. The message was simple, delivered in perfect human languages by a voice that carried the weight of ancient authority. People of Earth, you are now under the protection of the Catherian Empire. Your species has been evaluated and found suitable for integration into our civilization. Resistance is futile. Compliance is mandatory. You have 72 hours to demonstrate your submission. Sarah remembered the panic that followed. World leaders scrambled to respond, militaries prepared for war, and civilians fled to whatever shelter they could find. But Sarah had seen something in those ships that others missed. The way they moved, the energy signatures, her old equipment. Detected the careful positioning that suggested they were studying humanity as much as threatening it. The Catherians had made their first mistake. They assumed Earth would respond like every other world they had conquered now. As the deadline approached, Sarah stood beside General Marcus Rivera, the man who had pulled her from retirement and placed her in charge of something called Project Lazarus. The project officially didn't exist, buried so deep in classified budgets that even the president had only partial knowledge of its scope. Status report, Sarah said, her voice calm despite the chaos erupting across the planet's surface. All major military installations have been neutralized, reported Lieutenant Commander Hayes, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The Catherians used some kind of energy pulse that shut down everything electronic within a 50 radius of their ships. No explosions, no casualties, just complete system shutdown. What about our unconventional assets? Sarah asked, using the code phrase that made everyone in the room straighten slightly. Project Lazarus facilities remain undetected. All 7 installations are running on full quantum isolation protocols. As far as their sensors can tell, those locations don't exist. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her shoulders. 3 years ago, a small team of theoretical physicists had made a breakthrough that changed everything. They discovered that Earth's unique magnetic field, combined with its position relative to the galactic center, created quantum fluctuations that could be harnessed in ways no other known world could replicate. The Catherians had conquered 47 star systems over the past millennium. They had perfected the art of overwhelming primitive civilizations with superior technology, then integrating the useful populations into their empire. What they hadn't counted on was encountering a species that could turn their own technology against them. Incoming transmission, Hayes announced. It's from the lead Catherian vessel. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a being that seemed to be carved from living crystal. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but the way light bent around its edges suggested it existed in more dimensions than human eyes could perceive. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that made Sarah's teeth ache. I am Stratarch, Zephan of the Catherian Empire. Your time limit has expired. We have observed your species' primitive attempts at resistance. Your weapons are ineffective. against our technology. Your governments have already begun transmitting surrender protocols. This is your final opportunity to submit peacefully. Sarah stepped forward, knowing that her response would determine the fate of her species. This is Commander Sarah Chen, speaking for the United Earth Defense Coalition. We accept your terms. The words tasted like ash in her mouth, but they were necessary. Around her, the command staff maintained their composure, though she could see the questions in their eyes. Only a handful of people in the room knew what was really happening. You have chosen wisely, Zephyr replied, its crystalline features shifting in what might have been approval. Our occupation forces will begin planetary pacification within the hour. Resist, and your species will join the archives of extinct civilizations. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Sarah counted to 10, then activated her personal communicator. Lazarus Prime, this is Phoenix. Initiate Operation Trojan Horse. Repeat, initiate Operation Trojan Horse. Across the globe, 7 underground facilities began to hum with activity. These weren't the massive military installations the Catharians had so easily neutralized. They were small, hidden, and powered by quantum reactors that operated on principles the Empire had never encountered. Dr. Elena Busquets, the lead physicist on Project Lazarus, appeared on Sarah's private screen. Her face was streaked with sweat and exhaustion, but her eyes burned with the intensity of someone who had just unlocked the secrets of the universe. Sarah, we're ready. The quantum field generators are online, and we've successfully mapped the Catharian ship's dimensional signatures. But I need you to understand what we're about to do. This isn't just a weapon. It's a fundamental violation of physics as we understand it. Sarah had heard this explanation before, but the weight of it never lessened. The Catharians used technology that manipulated space-time itself, folding reality to move between star systems and power their weapons. But Earth's unique quantum environment allowed humans to do something impossible. They could create zones where the laws of physics simply stopped working. The moral implications, Alina began, are a luxury we can't afford. Sarah interrupted. How many ships can we target? All of them. The quantum cascade will propagate through their dimensional anchor points. But Sarah, if we do this, we're not just destroying their ships, we're erasing them from existence. No debris, no survivors, no evidence they were ever here. Through the observation windows, Sarah could see the Catharian ships beginning to descend. Smaller vessels, still massive by human standards, were deploying from the main fleet. The occupation was beginning. Execute the plan, Sarah said. Miles beneath the surface, machines that shouldn't have been possible began to work. The quantum field generators, built using principles reverse-engineered from a single Catharian probe that had crashed in the Sahara 2 years ago, started to create bubbles of impossible physics. Reality itself became malleable, and within those bubbles, Sarah's team began to write new rules. The first sign that something was wrong came from the Catharian ships themselves. Their perfect formations began to waver as their sensors detected anomalies in the quantum fields surrounding Earth. Strategy. Zephyr's voice cut through the communications array, no longer carrying the calm authority of an hour before. Unknown energy signatures detected. Human vessels. Identify the source of these quantum disturbances immediately. Sarah smiled for the first time in days. Unknown energy signatures. You came to the wrong planet. She opened a channel to all Lazarus facilities. This is Phoenix. Light them up. The sky above Earth erupted in impossible colors as 7 quantum Field generators fired simultaneously. The energy beams were invisible to human eyes, but the effect was immediately apparent. The Catherian ships, one by one, simply ceased to exist. No explosions, no dramatic deaths, just the sudden absence of matter where massive vessels had been seconds before. Stratage Zephyrin's ship lasted longest, its superior shielding buying it precious seconds. Sarah watched its crystalline form materialize. On her screen one final time, its harmonics now discordant with what might have been fear. Impossible, it transmitted. No primitive species possesses quantum nullification technology. This is... This cannot be. The transmission cut off as the flagship vanished from existence, leaving only empty sky and the whisper of wind through the mountains in the command center. Stunned silence gave way to cautious celebration. Hayes was the first to speak. All Catherian vessels confirmed destroyed. Total engagement time, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Sarah didn't join the celebration. She was already thinking about what came next. The Catherians had ruled a significant portion of the galaxy. For 1,000 years, they had allies, enemies, and a complex web of relationships that Earth had just violently inserted itself into. General Rivera, she said, turning to face the man who had made all of this possible. We need to talk about what happens now. What do you mean the Catherians didn't just disappear? They were erased from existence across multiple dimensions. That kind of quantum disruption will have been detected by every advanced civilization within 100 light-years. We just announced to the galaxy that Earth is no longer a primitive world. The implications were staggering. Humanity had revealed itself as a species capable of wielding weapons that could unmake reality itself. Some civilizations would see that as a threat to be eliminated. Others would see it as an opportunity for alliance. Dr. Vasquez appeared on screen again, her face pale. Sarah, we're detecting massive gravitational anomalies at the edge of the solar system. Something big is coming, and it's not Catherian. Sarah felt her stomach drop. How big? Bigger than anything we've ever seen, and it's not alone. The victory celebration in the command center died as new contacts appeared on the long-range sensors. Ships of unknown design, moving faster than should have been possible, were entering Earth's solar system. The quantum signature was unlike anything in their databases. Message coming in, Hayes reported, her voice tense. It's in perfect English. The main screen activated, revealing a being that looked almost human, except for the silver. Patterns that seemed to flow beneath its skin like living metal. Its eyes held an intelligence that made Sarah uncomfortable. Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Ambassador Kane of the Nexus Collective. We have observed your impressive demonstration against the Catherian Empire. Such capability in a species so young is unprecedented. Sarah stepped forward, knowing that this first contact would be even more crucial than the last. Ambassador Kane, I'm Commander Sarah Chen. We appreciate your interest in our defensive capabilities. Defensive, Kane's expression shifted into what might have been amusement. Commander Chen, you have just committed an act of dimensional warfare that will reshape the political landscape of this entire galactic sector. The Catherian Empire may be gone, but their allies will not forgive this transgression. More importantly, there are powers in this galaxy that view quantum nullification technology as an existential threat. Are you threatening us? Sarah asked, her hand moving instinctively toward her sidearm. On the contrary, we are offering you a choice. Join the Nexus Collective, and we will protect you from the storm that is coming. Refuse, and face the consequences of your actions alone. The weight of decision pressed down on Sarah once again. In the span of a single day, humanity had gone from being a conquered species to a potential galactic power. But power, she realized, came with responsibilities that her species might not be ready for. What storm? She asked. Kane's silver patterns pulsed faster. The hegemony is coming, Commander. They are the ones who gave the Catharians their technology, and they do not tolerate species that threaten the established order. You have approximately 72 hours before their advance fleet arrives. Sarah felt the familiar weight of impossible decisions settling on her shoulders. Humanity had won its first battle, but the war was just beginning. Asterisk when Earth strikes. Back the hegemony's ships arrived exactly when Ambassador Kane had predicted. Sarah stood in the same observation deck where she had watched the Catharian fleet's destruction. But this time, the sight above her made her blood run cold. The vessels emerging from hyperspace weren't just large, they were geometrically impossible. Their surfaces folding in on themselves in ways that hurt to look at directly. Report, Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the cosmic horror unfolding above them. 12 primary vessels, each one approximately the size of a small moon. Hayes reported, her fingers flying across the holographic displays. But Commander, our sensors are picking up something else. They're not just ships, they're some kind of hybrid technology. Part machine, part ... something else. Dr. Vasquez appeared on the main screen, her face drawn with exhaustion. She had been working around the clock since the Catharian incident, trying to understand the implications of what they had done. Sarah, I'm detecting massive reality distortions around those ships. They're not just using quantum technology, they're rewriting the fundamental laws of physics in the space around them. Can our quantum nullification systems handle them? Unknown. The Catharians used relatively simple dimensional manipulation. This is something entirely different. It's like comparing a firecracker to a nuclear bomb. Sarah nodded grimly. 3 days ago, she had been confident that humanity's unique technological breakthrough would be enough to protect them. Now she realized that revealing their capabilities might have been the worst mistake in human history. Incoming transmission, Hayes announced. It's from the lead hegemony vessel. The main screen flickered, and Sarah found herself looking at something that defied description. The entity that appeared seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its form shifting between states of matter and energy. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere and nowhere, resonating in harmonics that made reality itself seem to vibrate. Species designation, human, planet designation, Earth. You have committed a violation of cosmic law by deploying dimensional warfare against a hegemony client state. Surrender your quantum nullification technology immediately, or face complete molecular disintegration. Sarah felt the weight of 60 billion human lives pressing down on her. This wasn't like the Catharians, who had at least offered the possibility of survival under occupation. The hegemony was offering only death or submission. I am Commander Sarah Chen, speaking for the United Earth Defense Coalition. We were defending ourselves against an unprovoked invasion. We have no quarrel with the hegemony. Quarrel is irrelevant. You have demonstrated capabilities that threaten the established order. Your species will be eliminated, and your technology will be studied and contained. You have 10 minutes to transmit your surrender protocols. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Around her, Sarah could see the faces of her staff reflecting the same realization she had come to. This was humanity's final hour. Options? She asked quietly. General Rivera, who had been silent throughout the exchange, finally spoke. The quantum field generators are charged and ready. We could try the same strategy we used against the Catharians. Alina, Dr. Vasquez shook her head. I don't think it will work. The hegemony ships are protected by reality shields that actively counter dimensional manipulation. Our quantum nullification beams might not even reach them. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the weight of impossible decisions. When she opened them again, she knew what had to be done. Evacuate all non-essential personnel from the Lazarus facilities. I want skeleton crews only, Commander. Hayes looked confused. What are you planning? Something that will either save humanity or destroy it completely. Sarah turned to face the main screen. Alina, I need you to modify the quantum field generators. Instead of targeting individual ships, I want you to create a cascade effect that encompasses the entire solar system. The color drained from a face. Sarah, that's not possible. The energy requirements alone would require us to use Earth itself as a power source. I know Sarah's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. We're going to turn our entire planet into a quantum weapon. The risks are irrelevant. If we do nothing, humanity dies. If we try this and fail, humanity dies. If we succeed, humanity might survive, but we'll have fundamentally changed what it means to be human. The next 8 minutes passed in a blur of frantic activity. Across the globe, the 7 Lazarus facilities began to reconfigure their quantum field generators. Instead of creating localized reality distortions, they would attempt to synchronize their output to create a solar, system-wide quantum cascade. The theory was simple, even if the execution was impossibly complex. Earth's unique position in the galaxy, combined with its magnetic field and quantum environment, made it capable of channeling forces that no other known world could handle. By using the planet itself as a focusing lens, they could create a quantum nullification field large enough to encompass the entire hegemony fleet. The risk was that the process might destroy Earth in the process. 2 minutes to deadline, Hayes announced. Sarah opened a channel to all Lazarus facilities. This is Phoenix. Initiate Operation Ragnarok. All stations, prepare for quantum cascade activation. Around the world, skeleton crews of volunteers prepared to sacrifice everything for a chance at survival. These were humanity's best and brightest, scientists and engineers who understood exactly what they were about to attempt. 30 seconds to deadline, Hayes reported. Sarah looked up at the impossible ships hovering above Earth, their reality-warping fields creating aurora-like distortions in the atmosphere. In 90 seconds, those ships would begin the systematic destruction of every human settlement on the planet. Execute Ragnarok, Sarah commanded. The effect was immediate and terrifying. The quantum field generators, now synchronized across the globe, began to channel energy directly from Earth's core. The planet's magnetic field became visible as streams of light that spiraled up into space, creating a web of energy that encompassed the entire solar system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality began to break down. The space around the hegemony ships started to ripple like water. Their impossible geometries began to unfold, revealing the true horror of what they were not just ships, but living entities that existed across multiple dimensions simultaneously. As the quantum cascade took hold, those entities began to scream. The sound was unlike anything human ears had ever heard. It was the death cry of beings that existed on a scale beyond comprehension, echoing across dimensions as they were slowly erased from existence. The hegemony ships, revealed now as massive parasitic organisms that fed on the quantum energy of entire star systems, writhed and collapsed as their connection to hyperspace was severed. But the cascade didn't stop there. The energy wave spread outward, moving faster than light, carrying with it the quantum signature of Earth's impossible physics. Stars flickered as the wave passed, their nuclear processes briefly disrupted by the reality distortion. Planets shuddered as their quantum fields were momentarily rewritten. In the command center, Sarah watched in horror as the full scope of what they had done became clear. They hadn't just destroyed the hegemony fleet, they had fundamentally altered the quantum structure of local space-time. The wave would continue expanding, eventually encompassing hundreds of star systems, each one now carrying a fragment of Earth's unique quantum signature. "It's done," Alina reported, her voice barely a whisper. "The hegemony fleet is gone. But Sarah, what we've done, it's irreversible. We've changed the fundamental nature of reality across 50 light-years of space." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of what humanity had become. They were no longer just another species struggling to survive in a hostile galaxy. They had become something unprecedented, civilization capable of rewriting the laws of physics themselves. "Incoming transmission," Hayes announced. "Multiple sources. It's from everywhere." The main screen activated, revealing dozens of different alien species, each one speaking in their own language, but somehow perfectly understandable. They were representatives of civilizations that had felt the quantum wave pass through their systems, permanently altering the reality around their worlds. "Species human," said a being that looked like living crystal. "What you have done will be felt across the galaxy for millennia. The quantum cascade has reached the core worlds," reported another entity, this one appearing as a collection of geometric shapes that constantly shifted and reformed. "The hegemony's control network is failing. Client species are declaring independence." Sarah realized with growing amazement that humanity's desperate gambit had done more than just save Earth. They had inadvertently triggered a galactic revolution. The hegemony's power had been based on their ability to control quantum technology, but the reality wave had given every species in the affected region access to the same physics-defying capabilities. "What are your intentions?" asked a being that resembled a living nebula. "Your species has the power to reshape reality itself. Will you use it to conquer, as the hegemony did?" Sarah thought about the question, knowing that her answer would determine humanity's place in the galactic community. "We never wanted to conquer anyone. We just wanted to survive. If our actions have given others the same chance at freedom, then maybe some good can come from this." "Then perhaps," said the crystal being, "it is time for a new galactic order, one based on cooperation rather than domination." As communications poured in from across the galaxy, Sarah began to understand that humanity's greatest victory had also been its greatest transformation. They had saved themselves, but in doing so, they had become something entirely new, a species capable of wielding the fundamental forces of creation itself. The war was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. Humanity now had the power to reshape the galaxy, but they also had the responsibility to use that power wisely. As Sarah looked up at the stars, no longer hidden behind the reality distortions of the hegemony fleet, she realized that this was not an ending, but a beginning. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, and nothing would ever be the same.